finally, after a long wait, we have the newest entry to my favorite franchise ever, Pokemon Legends ZA. And while the hype was big for me, after playing the game, I was left disappointed. For an IP of its caliber, the issues and choices that have been made have left me wanting more. But let's dive deeper into the current state of Pokemon. First, let's start with the gameplay. Now, I am someone who very much enjoys the turn-based combat which all the other games use, but in Legends ZA, we have shifted to this real-time battle system that in theory sounds like a great idea, but couldn't be more of a failed execution. The combat, which is refreshing to see something new, is nothing more than a mobile game spam fest that makes Pokemon's already little existing strategy it can claim and absolutely shits on it. On top of this, myself and other players have had to deal with some frustrating issues. From Pokemon being stuck on objects in the environment and issues with elevation differences, it makes moves that would make sense to hit just completely miss. The jankiness makes certain battles just irritating and not worth the time, which this seems to just be a recurring theme in modern gaming, with ideas that are actually brilliant but very unpolished and still sold at a high premium price. This disappointment extends to the lock-on system. Having to manually hold the lock-on button during a chaotic fight is simply a poor design choice. It only works about half the time, it strains your hands during long sessions, and it often drops for the most random of reasons. And never mind if you need to fight more than one enemy at a time, as you would think the system would lock onto the nearest enemy, but it's completely random, and switching who you are locked onto is barely functional. Because of this, it introduces an unnecessary hurdle to an otherwise engaging system, making the difference between a clean win and a messy button mash often feels arbitrary. One of the biggest areas of contention, both for me and the community, is the setting. The game restricts the player entirely to Lumio City and its surrounding urban zones. Game Freak does deserve credit for creating a dense, layered map. Lumios is packed with alleyways, rooftops, and secrets that reward exploration. It feels more lived in than any single city in prior Pokemon games. But on the other hand, this decision feels like a huge step back from the massive varied biomes we explored in Legends Arceus, as well as every game that's come before then. I do feel that the core adventure is too restrictive, and that the repeated architecture and limited scope prevents the game from feeling like a grand journey. It makes the world visually quite monotonous and extremely boring. It is the main core reason the game feels smaller than its predecessor, a sentiment that runs deep in the fanbase. Now, let's talk about the fan base. And I'm not talking about the gremlins that wait outside stores for their pieces of paper, or the people that treat getting Pokemon with the perfect IVs and spend hours building the perfect team like it's a full-time job. I do not associate with y'all. But the community that's reaction that's deeply divided between the two biggest factors of ZA, the graphics and the grind of the game. Across the board, even those who enjoy the game, there is widespread disappointment with the visual fidelity and technical performance. There's issues with low quality textures with buildings, grass, and ground textures that look blurry, flat, or simply outdated. The poor draw distance and pop-in with objects and NPCs materializing just a few feet away severely breaks the immersion. And while not a massive issue for some, it's still something I still despise about Pokemon games is the lack of voice acting in major dramatic cutscenes. The silence is just weird and jarring. For a full-price title from a franchise of this magnitude, the absence of basic voice work is a common point of frustration. The game does not look or feel like a premium $70 experience and really feels more like a free mobile game. The progression system, instead of what we're used to being gym battles, is replaced by ranking up from Z to A via repetitive nightly battles and mandatory missions, has also polarized the community. While some enjoy the new stealth mechanics and the unique trainer battles, a significant portion of the fanbase, like myself, thinks the mechanics are obnoxious and a repetitive, boring grind. I feel like there's no reason why these should be in a Pokemon game. By the time you reach higher ranks, the required ticket total jumps dramatically, forcing you to repeat the same encounter types over and over again. When coupled with side quests that feel like fetch quests designed to pad the game time, it generates a feeling of unnecessary time wasting rather than fulfilling progression to what is a very boring story. Because I can barely get through it, and I don't know if I could pull myself to complete the game, but I most likely will with the DLC coming right around the corner. So the biggest part talked about in Legends EA is the new Mega Battles, which they require you to dodge and engage directly with the Mega Pokemon. And this is just another example of this concept versus execution problem. It's a bold, unique idea, a sort of pseudo-action RPG boss fight, but having to repeat 3 of them before every major story milestone feels less like a rewarding challenge and more like a structural roadblock. And it feels like it's designed to gate content like progressing the story and unlocking new wild zones to catch new Pokemon. These battles are the single reason why this game is a disappointment, since the actual battling, like previously mentioned, is broken and very mind-numbingly generic. Ultimately, my feeling, and the feeling of many players who have enjoyed their time with ZA, comes down to this. This game had the potential to be truly revolutionary. The active combat, the density of Lumiose, and the excitement of new Mega Evolutions all point to a genuinely fantastic experience. But the lack of polish, the technical shortcomings, the repetitive grind, and the restricted scope all prevents it from achieving that potential. Yes, I found myself enjoying the game, but it is a disappointing Pokemon game entirely. I believe we as fans deserve a game that fully realizes its own great ideas. One that does have the budget and development time necessary to deliver technical excellence alongside creative gameplay. I can have fun with this game, but I can't help to look at it and feel the overwhelming sense that Game Freak could have and should have done better. But as for my thoughts if you should get the game, I would say yes if you are a fan of the franchise. But don't buy it if you are expecting this to be a future classic. And I would much rather suggest you speak with your wallets, and if more people do so, we might be able to have a revolutionary Pokemon game that we actually deserve. But if the last few entries have been any indicator, we have a very bleak future to look forward to. But if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching, and leave a like and comment below on your thoughts on Pokemon Legends ZA, and if you're enjoying the game or not. I would also very appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button for more videos in the future, as well as to try to help me hit 2,500 subs by the end of the year. But thank you guys so much for the support you show on the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.